overcoming adversity. You see, that's pretty much been the story of my life. Defying the odds, doing what people said I could never ever do. I've always trusted my gut instinct, my intuition. I believed in myself and I refused to give up, even when I was at my lowest points. The classic Rocky Balboa story, if you will. So for those of you that don't know who I am, don't worry, I'm not going to get offended. I'll just add that to the list of adversities that I have to overcome. No, my name is Jay Sean. I'm a singer-songwriter, and that has been my profession for the last 18 years of my life. And I know it's weird to sort of call that a job or a profession, but it has been my career. And I never thought about this when I was actually making that decision. When I started off, I was so full of passion. I was so in love with music and so obsessed with that goal that somehow, some way, someday I would become an international pop star. I don't know why it is that when you're younger, it's so much easier to have those kind of outlandish dreams. Maybe it's because we're more fearless, we're naive, maybe we don't care. Maybe we haven't lived enough, to know any better. But I think that that's what's magical about that moment, because it allows us to dream. When we're kids, we believe we can do anything, right? My daughter, Ava, is 6 years old, and you should hear her talk about her lofty dreams. She'll say things like, oh, Dad, when I'm older, I'm going to be a professional gymnast, I'm going to be a professional cook, I'm going to be a professional yoga teacher like Mommy, and, maybe I'll sing some songs like you do, because everybody knows that's not a real job, Dad. And I was like, Yeah, well, first of all, nothing like a kid to put you in your place. But she listed 4 or 5 professions. Now, sure, she's naive, but in her head, she listed all of her passions. And in her head, it was possible to do all of these things. As we grow older, our parents, even our teachers sometimes tell us that it's probably best we just choose one. Pick one and probably pick the most sensible one. Like being an inventor is probably a waste of time. And why would you be an astronaut? Way too dangerous. And you can totally forget about being a pop star or a rock star or a Hollywood actor altogether. So almost through no fault of our own, we're taught from a very young age not to dream. Even intuition is killed by adults as you grow older, right? We have these strong feelings about things from a young age, whether it's an early sense of self-awareness or why we are drawn to certain type of people or to pick a certain type of friend. Similarly, it can be that same gut feeling, that same passion, that unrelenting wild dream, that self-belief that can help you make the choices in life. That's what happened to me. 20 years ago, I was faced with a pretty major decision. I don't know if you've seen Matrix, but it's like that scene out of the Matrix with the red pill and the blue pill, right? So the red pill was that I would take a chance and hopefully go on to become an international superstar. No guarantee. The blue pill, I would go on to become a doctor, pass my exams, get my qualifications, and have a respectable and reputable job, career, probably for life as a doctor. But obviously, as you know, they didn't introduce me as Dr. Sean, so clearly I took the red pill. Now, I knew that there was no guarantee that it would mean success. The thing about being a singer is that there is no application form for it. There's no sort of, that would be great if there was, right? If you go down the post office, I'd like to be a pop star, please. Yep, just, here you go. It doesn't work like that, right? With other careers, you take the exams, you pass. If you do well and hopefully do good at your job, it's there, right? Doctor for life, lawyer for life. But with music, even if you do get a record deal, there's no guarantee that you're going to become successful. There's no guarantee you're going to have a hit. You could have one hit, and then you'll be a one-hit wonder and people have forgotten your name. Then what? What do you do with the rest of your life? I actually know more people who have record deals who are unsuccessful than people who are successful from having a record deal. So I knew all this, yet I still signed on that dotted line. And at the time, I can tell you honestly, there was nothing inside my head, or my gut, or my heart saying, don't do this. Everything was saying, no, this is you. You need to do this. This is your path. Now, there's some people who don't believe in intuition. Some people don't believe in it's meant to be, fate, destiny. I get that. I totally understand that and I respect that. But I did know that if I applied myself the same way that I did in all my exams in medicine, if I learned the business, and if I tried to really apply myself and work hard and apply that same work ethic in, I would improve my chances, at least, of becoming successful, right? If I was prepared for when that opportunity came, right? Because I always feel like that's that magic moment, is when you're prepared and there's an opportunity and they both meet at the same time. That's what people call luck. I think that is the definition for me, right? Is you create your own luck by doing that. So I did this, and I signed that record deal. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was going to go on to break record after record after record. Things that had never been done before by a South Asian, I did for the first time. You know, being the first South Asian ever, having so much success in England. I signed the deal and I became the most successful South Asian music mainstream artist in the UK. And then would go on to become #1 in America, have the biggest song in the United States, followed by another top 10, which was also a record because that hadn't been done since 2003. An artist having 2 simultaneous top 10s at the same time. And I was breaking all these records. I was the first South Asian ever to have a #1 in the United States. The first UK urban artist ever to have a #1 in the United States. And at the time, because of the sales, and they were so incredible and so big, so vast, I ended up becoming the most successful European male urban artist in chart history. These were all records that I broke because I believed in myself. Things that people would have said, there's no way that's going to happen. That's impossible. It's never been done before. Why do you think you're going to do it? Yeah, it hasn't been done before. Doesn't mean it's impossible. It's only impossible until it gets done. So needless to say, here I am in America, sitting there at the top of the charts. Felt like I was sitting on top of the world, right? I'm on cloud 9. But of course, this talk is about overcoming adversity. So there has to be some adversity somewhere in this story, right? In fact, it's splashed all over my life, all over my career. So here's one. So I'm there, I'm sitting right there, you know, top of the world. And I'm doing this show in, I believe it's Louisville. And it's 20,000 screaming fans, mainly girls. And I'm on the bill and I walk into the green room and I'm kind of green. I'm totally new to America at this point. So I don't really understand sort of the landscape. I don't know who the biggest artists in America are at the moment, because some of them we haven't had in England. So there's this kid, right? And he's playing pool in the green room. And I walk in and he's like, oh my God, Jay Sean? Hey dude, do you think I could get an autograph or a picture or something? And I was like, yeah, bro, of course. So I was like, what's your name? And he's like, Justin. I went, Justin. Cool, Justin. So who are you here to see, eh? How'd you sneak in here? And he goes, and he just sort of points at the wall to a giant poster where his giant head is like 20 times bigger than all the others on the poster, including mine. And then I went, oh, you're that guy on the wall, Justin Beiber. Okay. And of course I was mortified. He's closing the show. I had no idea who this guy was. I made a complete fool of myself. But at the same time, again, I found it hilarious, to be honest. It's the Brit in me. And I told my friend. But that was an event where with those kind of things kept on happening, where I thought I'd made it, and there's always someone bigger. There's always someone who's just, like, he was closing the show. Those girls were there for him. I mean, some of them might have been there to see me, but mainly they were there for him. And that's what sort of made me realize that it didn't matter that I had come from England and sort of made it in America. I still hadn't made it. There was still someone bigger. There was still bigger things happening. There was still room for growth. And those kind of lessons kept happening for me throughout my career and throughout my time in America, which taught me so much. It taught me how every single time I tried to rest up on my laurels. There was always something that said, nah, mate, can't quit now. Lots more to do. Like the one time I was on tour with Enrique Iglesias, Katy Perry, Bruno Mars, and it was an arena tour of the United States. And me, I mean, what? 3 of the biggest stars in the world, and me, little Indian boy from a small town in England. I was like, there's no way this is happening. How is this happening? Like, I was just on cloud 9. And we sort of sat there in Madison Square Garden, one of the first shows that we're about to do, and we're in the green room, and we had to decide the running order, right, of the bill. Who's going to perform first? Who's going to perform last? Now, of course, if you perform last, which is called headlining the show, it's kind of like a big deal, right? Like you're closing the show. Except nobody wanted to sort of be like, I'm closing. I was quite surprised. I was like, oh, I'm sure Enrique's going to be like, well, I'm closing. Nobody wants to deal with this. So I'm looking around and like, they're like, well, I'm not going to close. And like, well, I'm not going after you. And I'm not going after, and I'm like, huh? I was like, guys, I'll close. And they were like, yeah, cool, great. Jay Sean's closing. I was like, wait, what? So I'm on the phone to my friends going, you're never going to believe this. I'm only headlining one of the biggest concerts in the whole world. Enrique Iglesias, Bruno Mars, Katy Perry. Then me, closing it. 20,000 people. What? But of course, classic, not quite there yet. Fashion, it couldn't just be that, could it? I couldn't just sort of have that moment. Nope. Something had to hit me right back down to the ground. So I'm there, and it's sort of like the second, third day, and we're performing, and I'm about to go and do my sound check. So I'm walking on stage, and Katy Perry is walking off stage. And she's like, oh my God, and you're like here all the time. And I was like, what? She's like, you're like every day I'm here, and like you're here. So like, what are you, like the sound guy? You're doing an awesome job. And I was like, the sound guy? I was like, sure, yeah, Katy Perry, hope you enjoy the way you sound. And I was like, what? I'm on the bill, closing it every night. But again, one of those instances, right, where I just had to be like, okay, I can't ride that wave for too long. It's all good. Instead of letting that destroy me and my ego, I actually found it quite hilarious. I started writing all of these sort of scenarios and anecdotes down. And over the course of all of these years, all of these things which could have troubled another artist, or perhaps, I don't know, put me into depression, or knock my ego so hard that I doubted myself again. No, I actually found it quite hilarious. I found it quite funny, and I found it just to be life. We're only going to be that important to ourselves, right? To other people, it doesn't necessarily mean that. This is everything to us. This is everything to us. So any little thing that happens is the end of the world for us all the time. Any challenge, obstacle that happens can always, but to other people, they're not looking at your situation as gravely as you are. So I always sort of remember that as well, that it's not, this is my world. In my world, it's bigger than it is in everybody else's world. So I use that sense of perspective to sort of understand how large is this problem? Is it a real big problem, or are you just making it into something massive that it isn't actually that big? And I think that sort of helped me deal with those small sort of adversities, right? It was a challenge for me. It was a laugh for somebody else. So now, over the course of all these years, all of these anecdotes, all of these real life scenarios that have happened to me, instead of using this as something that I don't want to talk about, instead of hiding these stories, I'm actually sharing these stories, just like I'm doing with you. These are stories that might be embarrassing, or sort of like, oh God, why would you say that? Cringeworthy, shows a failure. Why would you ever want to show your failures? But to me, it was the failures were the only reason I grew. The failures were the only reason that I managed to get stronger. The only reason I managed to lift myself higher is because of every failure. If it was like this the whole time, I'm not learning much. Every time I got knocked down, I came back stronger, right? And it's just sort of, that seems to be the process of nature. with hair. Cut it. It grows back thicker and stronger. And that's sort of what I feel that character is what really helped me and to overcome these sort of things. So yeah, I turned all of that stuff, the bad stuff, into something good and positive, right? And I turned it into a TV show. So I'm super excited about that and to share it with you. What if I told you that just 2 years before all of this, before all the Screaming Girls, before the #1 in America, before all of the tours, before the arenas, before all of that, 2 years before that, I was sat in a parked car on a small side street by my parents' house. Hardly any money in my pocket, no record deal, no fans, no music. Honestly, no hope. I had had this little moment. I had that small string of hits in the UK and around Europe, and all of a sudden, just like that, it was gone. Like here I was, right? That guy that took the red pill. And I had that little moment of success. And I thought, yeah, I made it. I done it. I made the right choice. But I had a fallout with my label. And the music industry had changed. And at the time, my style of music was pop R&B. And all of a sudden, it was more sort of James Blunt, rock, pop music. That was the new happening landscape. That was the more popular thing. That's what everybody wanted. And I no longer fit into that. I no longer fit into that. And instead of adapting and instead of changing, instead of thinking, what can I do? I got into loggerheads with the label and we split. And all of a sudden, I was just gone for too long, to a point where people had forgotten about me. I mean, I had fans, but I hadn't given them any music. And I was just there in my car every day, sat there. The reason I was sat there in my car is because I couldn't lie to my parents that I didn't have a job anymore. I didn't have a studio, I didn't have producers, I didn't have money to pay the producers, I didn't have any of that. I didn't have anyone to put me in studio sessions with people. So instead of admitting that I no longer had anything going on, I was pretending that I was going to work. And instead I would sit there in my car and just kill the day so that nobody knew. And in fact, I was just sitting at home doing nothing, no idea what to do next. Honestly, there were days like I'd drive around and I'd just think, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? There were days I'd just cry all day. And I was in this bad place, this rut, for quite some time before I started realizing this is not serving me. This situation, fine, take your moment to mope, to cry about it, to live in it, to soak in it, right? Why me? Why did this have to happen? But that can't go on forever. I knew that much. I knew that couldn't go on forever. For one, I just run out of petrol. So I was like, I have to do something. So I changed my mindset, I guess unknowingly. I already sort of had all the bad stuff going on. I knew I wasn't helping me. So I started missing actually all the good stuff. I started thinking about, when I was on tour, when I had fans screaming for me, when I was signing autographs, when I was performing on TV, when I was singing in the studio. And I remembered how good that felt. And without realizing it, I was shifting my state. I was going from a place of negativity and a place of sadness and grief and hopelessness to a place of hope and happiness and dreams and all the good stuff. Because I was reliving that moment, that's why. I didn't realize what was happening. So as I was thinking about that, I was smiling because I was like, wow, that was an amazing experience. Wow. And all of a sudden, I wasn't in that bad place anymore. Now I was in this other place where I said, I want that. I want that back. How do I get that back? So I started thinking about ideas, right? Thinking about what can I do? What do I have? Instead of focusing on what I don't have, right? I'm sure you guys have heard that. Happy people focus on what they have and unhappy people focus on what they're missing. And there could be a guy with a big slice of cake, one little piece gone. But there's that dude with the one piece of cake. He's smiling, he's happy days, he's got his cake. This guy's looking at it going, why is there a piece missing, right? So for me, instead of looking at all that stuff about what's missing, I started thinking about, well, what do I have? And I was like, well, surely I still have fans. I've got to have fans still. How can I get more music to them? Who do I know? So of course, Rishi Rich was the producer who I was doing all these hits with. Now me and him were talking about what we can do. And there was this intern with him at the time called Alan Sampson. Now Alan, we had met in an in-store signing. He came to get his CD signed by me. And he gave us the CD and said, look, I'm a producer, I make music, I'd love for you to listen to it. I said, yeah, cool, man. And he was just so excited, you know, loved life, loved music. I, by that time, was so jaded with the music industry. I was done with it. I'd seen all the flaws in it. I'd experienced the bad stuff in the industry. I no longer was looking at it through rose-tinted glasses like Alan Sampson was. So I said, I need that energy in my life. So I called him up and I said, hey, Alan, it's Jay Sean. I want to work. Let's write some songs. Of course, his mind was blown. He couldn't believe that I had called him, right? Here he is. He came as a fan to me. And now I'm calling him saying, I want to work with you. I want to write songs with you. I didn't have any airs and graces about it. I was already at my lowest. And I just wanted to not feel like that again. I wanted to get back up here. And I knew in order to do that, I needed fresh energy, new life. Because jaded people hanging out with jaded people, talking about jaded things does not help a situation. What you need is fresh energy, people with new ideas, people who are excited, people who have literally that, love, excitement, passion. All of that can reignite that dampened flame that I had. So I called him up and I went over to his house. He lives in at the time, he lived in a small town called Slough in West London, just by Heathrow Airport. And at the back of his garden, he had a small, tiny shed. And in that tiny shed, he had built himself a little studio. Now, I, of course, I had just come from all these big, fancy, large studios that you see in the movies, right? With the interns, with the grapes and the M&Ms. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Let's make some music. And I walked through that garden and I remember seeing Alan's face light up. He couldn't believe that Jay Sean had just walked through his back garden, was about to walk into his tiny little shed to come and write a song. And I remember that feeling. I remember that look. And I remember not feeling as much of a failure anymore because he was looking at me differently. It was all about, I had created a perception of myself. I had told myself a story that this is now who I am. This was now my truth. And I had made that my certainty without questioning it. Had somebody else looked at that, they would have gone, what are you talking about, mate? You're Jay Sean. You're a legend. You've just done this, that, and the other. You've broken all these records. Nobody's done it before you. And I was forgetting all of that. I was so focused on the bad stuff and what I hadn't achieved, what I hadn't done, why I hadn't done. So anyway, I'm here in the studio with this kid who's looking at me like I'm his Usher, like I'm his Justin Timberlake. Meanwhile, I'm looking at Justin Timberlake and Usher going, why aren't I where you are? Why aren't I doing that? So anyway, that was really interesting for me. That process, that dynamic, it really taught me about how we look at ourselves and how other people actually look at us, right? It can be two very different things. So we started writing songs and we were just enjoying it. I was loving the process. I was so into the actual creative process. I wasn't thinking about the long-term end goal. I wasn't going, here's what I need. I need this song to place at this chart position. I wasn't thinking about that. I was more consumed in the here and now. I'm in the process of making this product right now. If I get lost in the future, or if I get lost in the past, stuck in the past, I'm not going to give my everything into this moment. So that's one thing I remember very clearly and still carry with me to this day. Whenever I'm doing something like that, starting a new project or doing a song or doing something, I have to bury myself in it. I have to really be consumed in that moment, giving all my energy and time and focus into that product at that time. Because otherwise, I can't give my everything. I can't get lost in it. And I certainly can't come from a place of passion. And creativity. So therefore, the end result probably isn't going to be what I want it to be. Even if I want the end result to be up here, if I'm not giving my everything right now, I probably won't get up there. So we made this song called Ride It. And Ride It, at the time, I had no idea it was going to go on to change my life. We loved it. We weren't chasing anybody. We weren't listening to the radio. We weren't listening to other people's music. We weren't concerned in what other people were doing. We weren't watching the competitors. We were literally consumed in our own moment. And we weren't imitating. That's the thing. We were not imitating. We were innovating. And that's what is so important to me. If I watch what somebody else has done and I just try to copy what that person's doing, I'm only going to make a second-rate version of what that person has done. Unless I know a way to better it myself, right? In the music industry, that's kind of like one of those weird things. There's no formula of how to write a song. We did this song, and then just when I thought things were getting better, right? Just when I felt like I was suddenly in a good place, something happened in the music industry. YouTube was exploding, and hacking had become a big problem in the music industry. Everyone was getting hacked. People's albums and singles were getting thrown all over the internet and leaked onto YouTube, including my song, Ride It, which leaked onto YouTube. So now all of a sudden, here's this sort of unfinished version of my song that I loved on the internet for everybody to see. I had no idea how to take it down. I had no record company. I had no power to take it down. And it was the end of the world for me again. And I was like, great. Why? Why me? Why, when everything's finally getting better, why did this have to happen? Okay. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but this adversity was then going to go on to become the biggest blessing in my life. Like they say, sometimes people make mistakes they think it's a mistake, but it ends up becoming the one thing that actually went on to making them great, right? They learned from that, or it was an event that happened that changed the course of their life to where it ended up becoming their success. So what could have been the worst thing for me, where this song's out that isn't finished, I have no marketing budget behind it, I have no label, I have no big machine to push it, I have nothing to do with this song. It's just there now. How about in a couple of months, it amasses millions of views, to the point where me and Alan are looking at this song going, what the heck? We'd gone viral, and we didn't even know. Viral wasn't even a thing back then, right? This is like 12 years ago. Going viral was not even a thing. But that's what had happened. So I'd gone from a place of obscurity to suddenly a place where millions of people were talking about me and listening to my music again. So of course now me and Alan are jumping for joy, and I get on the phone to my managers and I'm like, and at the time they already had nothing to work with because we didn't have a product. But now I was like, hey guys, Ride It is blown up. It's everywhere. And we need to shoot a video for this. And they're like, Jay, we don't have a record company. We don't have a label. We don't have a budget. I said, listen, I will spend my own money. The amount of money that I had made touring the world in the first 3 years before I sort of got dropped by my first label, I invested that money into myself because I believed in myself. I believed in my product. I was not going to wait for somebody else to do that for me. I had to take the initiative to believe in myself, to invest in myself. So I said, I'll pay for the video. I'll pay for it, whatever we need. Whatever we need, let me just do it. I'll spend my last money on this. This is a big shot. We may never get this back again. Right now, this product was bubbling, right? It was bubbling. People were talking about it. Let's get it out there. Let's push it. So we did that. You know, I paid for my own video shoot. Granted, there was no sort of fancy catering van this time. You know, maybe a couple of sandwiches from Asda. Didn't have a stylist, no problem. Bought a cheap suit from Zara, and it was all good. Extras, all good. My friends and family in the video, and we just did it. We did it. We made do with what we had. And I like to think about, like, you know, this saying. I don't know where I heard it, but it was like, I've done so much with so little for so long. I can do anything with something. And that really resonated with me because I was like, I have this moment now. And I have this a little bit amount of cash. Let's go. I've never had more than this. This is the best that it's gotten for a while. Let's go. While I've got this chance, let's go. I've got a product that looks like it's going to fly. I've got my own money to invest in myself, even if nobody else will. This might be as good as it gets. Let's go. And I did that. And before you know it, the song's peaking up the charts. It's climbing up into the top 10. And independently, Science started my own record label and invested in myself. Ironically, I called it Jaded. But we did that, and the song was a success. And before I knew it, I was back on the road. And I was going to radio stations, and I was doing interviews again, and I was performing again. And I'd gone from sitting in my car without hope to 2 or 3 months later being at radio stations, being at MTV, performing all over the world again with a brand new hit. Now, I didn't realize it at the time, right? I didn't realize that what had got me from that place to this now newfound success was that I had changed my way of thinking. I started rethinking, because the way I was thinking was not helping me. The way I was thinking was perhaps making me feel better in that moment, right? Self-pity, all of that stuff. Why me? Why did this have to happen? Sure, do that for a second if you need to sort of get your feelings out, of course. But is that way of thinking helping my situation? Is it improving my situation? Is that way of thinking providing an answer for the situation I am now in? Is that way of thinking going to get me out of where I am now? It's not, and it wasn't. Dwelling on the why don't I have this? Why did this happen to me? Playing the victim role was not getting me out of that. I was just getting further into that hole I had dug for myself. So I started rethinking. What do I have? What tools do I have? Who do I know? What can I do? What have I already achieved? What can I do with all of that stuff that I have done? How can we make the most of this now with what we have, right? I was rethinking, rebranding. Without realizing it, I was like, well, if I'm going to come out of sort of obscurity with a brand new music video, with a brand new song, I want it to be exciting. Let's have a brand new look. So I did. I shaved my head. I had gone to the gym. I just started looking different and feeling different. People felt like they had a new, it was like we called it Jay Sean 2.0. It was like a different guy, but it was still the same guy. But it was different for them, and it was fun for them. It was different packaging, same product, different packaging. And we didn't want it to feel old, right? We gave it a new, sexy feel. And that was important at that time, because the world had moved on, and people don't want a stale product. So they're going to be, I'm over that. What? Let's give them something new. So we did. And really the sort of process of gratitude for me was something that I didn't realize I was even doing. Now, from my sort of doctor days, I love the science behind all of this stuff, right? I'm sure you guys have read up on many people's thoughts and opinions on how what you put out there is what you get back, right? And the whole universe theory, and some people don't like it. Some people think it's airy-fairy nonsense, okay? I like to think of the science behind it. Is it possible to change your state, your mental state, by literally thinking about other things? 100%. I'll give you a classic example. First of all, the brain spits out 60 to 80,000 random thoughts a day. They're not all helpful. They are all over the place. If you don't understand your own mind and your own brain, your own thoughts, might catch on to what we normally do is we catch on to the negative ones. Oh no, did I leave the door open? Oh no, did I pay my bills on time? Oh no, so-and-so's gone out. What if they crash? What if they don't get home? Oh, so-and-so's on a flight. What if they miss? We start thinking about all the negative stuff, right? And that puts us down that whole negative pathway. It just keeps going. That releases certain chemicals in our body. Stress hormones, cortisol, has a certain physiological response in our body, right? All of these things make us feel a certain way, increases your heart rate, okay? All of these things is because of a thought caused an actual physiological or physical response in the body. Now, if you were to think about some things that you are actually grateful for, things that you do have, can 100% cause the release of certain neurotransmitters in your body, serotonin and dopamine, which can make you feel good. You can live in that state. It is literally possible to change your state just by thinking a certain way. I think that is incredibly important for overcoming adversity. We do this when a kid falls, right? What do? A kid falls on the floor. If a parent goes, "Oh no, my baby," the baby's looking at you for a reaction. It's in shock at the moment. If you are giving it then panic signals and fear and worry, concern, that's what the baby's going to take on. And then that same event that happened has now caused a different physiological response in the baby. He's now crying because he's scared and panicked and nervous, just like you are. If you instead laugh it off and go, "Oh, you come on, get up," and you have a bit of a laugh at him, they get confused. They're like, "Oh, I guess that was funny then." And they start laughing. Same incident, completely different physiological response. Same problem, same obstacle, same adversity, completely different end result. So I think the way that you perceive a situation and a problem can really change the way your outcome from that problem, that situation. Humor for me is something that I have found has really helped. I find the humor in a lot of adversities. I find it one of the best coping mechanisms, actually. And it's not something really that I sort of train myself to do. I guess I was fortunate enough to always have a sense of humor about things. I like to think of life and a lot of things in life as in terms of choices and responsibilities, right? A lot of the time you hear people sort of say, "Oh, I don't have a choice. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have it." Well, that in itself is a choice. Making a choice to either understand that there's nothing I can do or there perhaps is something I can do is a choice. When things happen in life beyond our control, just like the coronavirus, nobody's fault. It's caused havoc around the whole world, okay? We all know this. We're all stuck at home now. What do we do? What do we do? Do we mope around the house? Do we say, "Why me? Why did this have to happen? Why can't I go to work? Why is the guy next door still able to go to work? Why can he work from home? Why can't I work from home? Why did this have to happen to us? How am I going to pay my..." We can do all of that. That's fine. But that, again, is not an effective way of thinking. It's not going to now help you get out of the situation that we are now in. We didn't ask for this, but we have all been forced to very quickly adapt to what has happened around the world. Some of us have made the choice to go, "I don't want to do anything. I'm going to use this time to just watch Netflix and I don't care. I don't want to find a solution for this. I'll wait till it all blows over." Fine, that's a choice you made. You see, but the responsibility we have, ultimately, depending on no matter what happens, whether it's something that happened to you, whether it's your fault that you're in this situation, or whether it's something else or somebody else's fault that you are in this situation, either way, you still have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to make a choice. And that always puts you in a position of power. Positive thing, right? Something bad happens to me? Cool. Am I going to moan about it? Am I going to do something about it? I have a responsibility now to make a choice. So what's that choice going to be? Is it going to be helpful? Is it not going to be helpful? So I like to try to make choices when it comes to adversities. I like to try to make choices that empower me. Because I understand and I think about it and I go, even though I might not have asked for this, I now have the power to do something about it. I can make a choice. You can always make a choice. And you can always make a positive choice and a good choice. That's a beautiful thing. Think, what can we do? Me and my wife own a yoga studio just around where we live. And it's been closed, obviously, for the last 3 months. We have no idea when it's going to reopen. And we decided, instead of sort of moping around and going, "Oh, I can't believe they're opening up Disneyland, but they're not opening up our yoga studio." It's not going to help. It's not going to help our situation. It's an adversity we have to overcome. How do we do it? So we started thinking, adapting to the new climate that we're in, right? And we took the whole course online. So now all of her students are online, taking Zoom classes with her, and we're able to figure out a way to still keep the income flowing. My situation is slightly different, right? My income, majority of it is from being on the road and performing live, just like a lot of artists are. Now, fair enough, a little bit different, a little bit difficult. But again, I have a choice. What do? Do I sit at home and go, well, I can't perform, I can't go out on the road, might as well sort of just chill out and just hope I can get back on the road again? Yeah, that's okay, that's one choice. Doesn't really help me. Doesn't really serve me. Doesn't make me feel like I'm doing something with this. Doesn't empower me. So instead I was like, all right, what don't I get to do normally? I'm at home now. Let's find the silver lining. What can I do? Tell you what, I never really get the chance to talk to my fans much. Let me jump on IG Live. So I jump on Instagram Live. And I start talking to them. I'm calling some of them up. I'm making their day. I'm making them smile. I'm trying to spread some positivity and love. And then I'm like, well, sing them a couple of songs. Why not? I'm not getting paid for it, but why not? Just make them feel good, right? So I started doing that. I did a series of... Because I did that, I then ended up getting called up by a ton of big organizations, charities around the world for me to be a part of their online concert to contribute towards COVID-19. And that only happened again because they saw that I was willing to do that. They saw that I was going online. They were like, Jay Sean will be a part of this. Now all of a sudden you're being affiliated with larger things. You're being talked about in a positive light. This is all stuff that's helpful for my career. Come from something that is an adversity is still becoming something positive. It's turning a negative into a positive. What also happened through this is I started talking on Instagram Live with some of my celebrity friends because I realized that they're in the same situation as me. They're stuck at home. They got no excuse to go, I can't chat at the moment. Yes, you can, mate. You're at home. So we jumped on IG Live and we start talking, and I called it Basement Banter on IG Live. I had people like Deepak Chopra on there, incredible people. Because I don't know when I would have got Deepak Chopra on an Instagram Live before, but it happened because through an adversity, I may never have been one-on-one with him for the whole world to see, had it not been for this situation, which caused us to both be in a place where this was now made possible. And so therefore, by finding the silver lining and adapting to my new climate, I managed to make, without realizing it, a podcast. And I didn't realize that that's in essence what I was doing, but that is what this led to. And it actually led to this now becoming, the series of IG Lives now becoming an actual full-blown podcast. And I just signed a deal as a result of something that I did out of a place of adapting, a place of love, a place of passion again. People could see my end result wasn't, hey, I'm going to get a podcast. I wasn't thinking about that. Again, just like in Ride It, I was immersing myself in the process. I was there enjoying the creative process of doing something new, of thinking outside of the box, of taking this challenge and going, all right, mate, let's go. What can we do with this? And as a result, people, I guess, because they could see the excitement and the happiness and the joy coming from this Basement Banter Instagram Live, they in turn started feeling happy and excited about it. I'm making them laugh, I'm making them smile, they're passing it on and sharing it. So, this is, again, an example of how in the face of adversity, you can either let it destroy you or you can grow. I like to sort of think of every adversity that I have. I like to think that it's taught me something. I like to sort of think of myself as the Indian Sylvester Stallone, which is probably why Rocky is my favorite movie. Because I identify with it. I can really relate to it. From the lofty dream of becoming heavyweight champion of the world in Rocky 1, based on no fear, right? Just a dream and the love of the sport, to making it and then losing it and then making it back again. From knowing and understanding how to adapt with the change in the working landscape. Just as his body aged, right? Our industries change and evolve. And you must find a new path for yourself. You have to keep on going. And I saw this quote on Instagram and inspirational websites all over the world, which says, it ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Now that's from Rocky Balboa, okay? The movie. So one day I'm searching for that quote on the internet because I wanted to post it on my Instagram. And I knew the first few words, so I typed it into Google. And I just wanted to make sure that I got it completely right. So I typed in, it ain't about how hard you can get. And sure enough, there it is. It pops up under sort of famous inspirational quotes. And I see it on this one image. Nice little picture behind it. I clicked on it. There it is. It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Mark Twain. What? And I laughed so hard because I thought to myself, that's not Mark Twain. That's Sylvester Stallone, who created this epic character called Rocky. And yet, even the great Rocky and Sylvester Stallone has his moments of not quite there yet. And look at him. He turned out just fine. Sylvester Stallone did 8 movies of Rocky. Even when everyone else said, no way, enough is enough. Retire it. It should have been stopped at 4. Forget it. No more. Kill him. It's over. He didn't listen. He didn't listen to the naysayers. He believed in himself and he believed in his character. He believed in his product. So what did he do? He rebranded and he changed and he adapted and he actually made another brand off the back of this Rocky character. He made Creed, and not just 1, 2. So that means 8 movies spanning from 1976 to 2018. All the while saying no. Refusing to listen to the naysayers for 42 years. And like he said himself, hey yo, I didn't hear no bell. One more round.